Well, welcome. Today, I have the opportunity to talk to Christopher McDonell, or as he's sometimes known as Cleetche. He is the director of the new documentary film Queen of the Beach, which opened on Friday, August 15th, which I believe they said was Indian Independence Day.
Yeah,
Did,
that's correct.
did you pick that on purpose to kind of dovetail with the story?
We did. Actually, we initially tried to target June 12th, which is the UN has made that World Day Against Child Labor,
Mhm.
but the timing was too premature for us. So yeah, we settled on Indian Independence Day, which we thought was pretty appropriate to celebrate all things India with the release.
Well, in the film, it takes place over about an 8-year period, beginning with you on vacation on a beach in India, coming across a young girl named Shilpa and several other young girls who were selling things at the beach. What kind of first drew you to her?
So it's interesting how this film began and how I ended up meeting Shilpa. I was actually in India shooting another project, two projects actually side by side, and it was my first time visiting India. Um, I was at a whirlwind trip. I ended up flying all over the country. I was on 8 airplanes, train ride, bunch of auto rickshaws, zigzagging the country, making these working on these two projects. By the end of it, I was completely burnt out. Thought I'm gonna go to Goa for 2 nights, lay on the beach, just relax, and then fly home. And so I left the camera in the hotel, went down to the beach, and was just blown away by what I saw. Um, the visuals are like nothing that you see anywhere else in India. So right away, I mean, first of all, it's full of foreigners. So there's more white people. They outnumber the Indians. You have drinking. You have topless sunbathers. You have cows roaming freely on the beach, and the trance music. Everything was just wild. The markets there, they sell cheeseburgers. They really have created this atmosphere that caters to the West. But the thing that grabbed me, literally, were the child vendors. And so as soon as a new foreigner, especially, hits the beach, it's like your new blood. So I was immediately astounded by all these children trying to bring me to their shops to sell me their clothes or jewelry or beach blankets or whatever. And one of those kids was Shilpa, and she was 9 years old. And so there were three that brought me to the shop, and we got talking, and I quickly realized that there was an amazing story here, and I was no longer on vacation. So I arranged with the girls that I would come back the next day and bring my camera. I told them what I was doing, and can I shadow you around? I'll just film you for the day, and they agreed to that. And that's when the new film really began. Shilpa started to kind of separate herself from the pack. And as you can see, she's a very charismatic little ball of energy. And so she really shone. And we started to form this connection. And at one point, I asked her whether she had dreams or aspirations in life. Because I should start by saying, for those who haven't watched the movie, she told me that she'd been working on the beach since she was 5 years old. That she's the primary breadwinner, providing for a family of 6 people, and she's the one bringing home the money. She lives on one meal a day. All these things I was learning, and I asked if she had any dreams for herself. What do you want to do with your life? And she told me she wanted to go to school. And when I heard that, and I asked her, do you have friends that go to school? Just to understand the context. And she says, yes, I see them. They leave every day. So that was really the thing that made the connection. And of course, I was only there for 2 days. So I was on a plane back to Canada. Didn't know what to do with this. But as things turned out, I ended up returning 4 more times and covering her story from age 9 to 21.
Yeah, and in the around the midpoint in the film, I think it was your third trip back, you go to her village, and it seemed like you were really close to getting her connected with the school, and it didn't quite work out. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so initially the plan was to just uncover the story of the beach hawker and just follow her with the camera as kind of an impartial um, journalist, I guess, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Cover her story. But the more I learned about what she deals with these mysterious bosses, who will beat the girls if they don't make their quota, the loan sharks who they borrow money from that will set fire to their shops if they don't pay them back. You realize the dangers that they're dealing with, and the environment that they work in. I don't know if I should get into it, but I mean, you saw there was a campaign warning of pedophiles on the beach. So I came to a point where I just felt like I couldn't just sit back and be the invisible man behind the camera. And it was the third trip. I told myself that if this girl still carries that same dream to go to school, then I have to do something to help. I'm not just here to make a movie. I'm a human being after all. And when I learned that, I took it on as my own mission to try to help her achieve that dream. And met with a non-government organization, an NGO, that specializes in helping children like Shilpa go to school, put a lot of effort into trying to make that a reality for her. And as you see, there's so many hurdles that you face. And I ultimately failed at being able to pull that off. So just quickly, I mean, she supports a brother that goes to school. And so her 14-year-old brother said to me, if you put her in school, I can't go to school. And then there's her parents. Her parents depend upon her income. So if you put Shilpa in school, who's going to pay for our food? Who's going to pay for our rent? So you get all these layers that make it very complicated. And I couldn't get the family on board, even though this was Shilpa's dream. And yeah, I came back to Canada, actually thought I was finished the movie. And I cut a film with the ending that was just, this is life. And, it had more of a bittersweet ending to it. Finished the film and took it to some distributors, took it to one guy in Toronto who said, you need to go back. This girl's amazing and you need to reconnect with her and keep following her story. And as it turns out, there was a point in the film where I had asked her right at the very end of the movie that I cut. I said, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years from now? And now here I was. It was the 5-year mark. And I said, hey, I have a perfect springboard to keep going. And so I went back.
Obviously there's kind of that 5-year period where you don't know what happened. Did you ever lose faith that you'd find her again?
Well, so after I returned after my first 3 trips, my first trip, she was 9. Second trip, she was 11. Third trip, she was 12. And it was the trip when she was 12 that we really got into the matter of trying to get her into school. And with the pushback of the family and, me kind of relenting and realizing, hey, this is India. We tried. I came back to Canada and lost touch with her. I had left the phone with her and, phones get stolen or, they can't afford to pay for the minutes anymore. So I lost touch with her. And so for, there was a period over those years, I was trying everything. I was trying to reach out to anyone who I knew, the friends, the other girls, all the numbers that I had, the hotels, to try to reconnect with her. And, but I thought, it didn't happen. So I had completely lost contact. And when I decided to return 5 years later, where she was 17, I really had no idea if I would find her.
That's, to me, that was one of the kind of magical moments there in the film. I believe you said it was the first day you were back in there. You found her back on the beach. What was it like for you reconnecting?
Man, I planned to return to the flea market. The flea market is one of the big events in Anjuna that draws hawkers, not only from that beach, but from several beaches. So I did figure if she's still working and in the business, that's where she'll be. And but I went out with the camera and I was asking people along the way if they knew Shilpa, was she still working here? And I was getting a lot of no's. Nobody knew her. And so when I came into the market, I was starting to think, okay, I guess I'm going to be going to her village, because that was my next step. And I don't know if I want to give this away before people watch it, but we ended up reconnecting and it was amazing. I couldn't believe it. She saw me first.
Yeah.
And that was the amazing thing, to hear my name called out in the market.
A big part of that, the second half, you arrive at kind of a pivotal time in her life. I won't go into all the details, but part of that, you were able to help start a GoFundMe campaign. And for me, seeing, the response of the people to her story and to what she was going through was amazing. What was that like for you guys at the time?
It was both challenging and incredibly rewarding as well, because that gave me an opportunity to share Shilpa's story and involve other people in the journey. And you know what? You're the first person to touch on that. But up to that point, it was largely myself and my family and friends that were invested in trying to help her go to school and resolve what we, do what we could. Once I launched the GoFundMe project, it went global. And suddenly I had people writing in from all over the world, making contributions and sending positive messages, which I in turn would read to her. So yeah, it was amazing. It encouraged both of us and kept us going. And of course, we ultimately, I was there for 7 weeks, my last trip, but we hit our target. And
yeah, I mean, it ends up being a very beautiful and profound story. I really appreciated the ending, which I won't spoil for people. But are you still in touch with her?
You know what? She texted me about half an hour ago. So yeah. Shilpa today is she's married and she has a young baby named Ira.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah. And so we're very close, brother, sister. Yeah. So in fact, I did 5 trips for the making of the film. And my final trip was to return to India to watch the film play at festivals that had accepted it. And so my last trip, I went back in January of 2020. I was there till the beginning of February. So, just before the pandemic shut down the world. And that was, it was an incredible opportunity to be able to watch the film in theaters with, people of its own country who really rallied behind it. And I had students coming to me afterwards and thanking me for sharing this story and shedding light on the plight of education in India and the need for girls to be educated and for just highlighting all the complexities involved in that. But during that time, I was able to spend some quality time with Shilpa and her husband, who was pregnant then.
Wow. So it seems like more than just a film. This has kind of been a labor of love for you. That's, it seems like you've certainly been changed by this journey. What do you hope people take away from this story and this film?
What's interesting is now people are reviewing it, people are writing about it, And so I actually appreciate hearing what people have to say and what their takeaway is, because I have my own, thoughts on what the takeaway should be, but people are finding, different things for themselves that resonates with them. I think ultimately, the words that I hear from people is inspiring, encouraging. It makes me feel more appreciative of what I have. I mean, I think of myself. I wasn't the best student when I was young, and especially in high school. I couldn't wait to get out of school. And you look at the developing world, and people would give anything for the opportunities that I just completely took for granted. Right. So there's that. I think there's just a perspective on how people live and how that can make us appreciate what we have, maybe a little bit more. But I think Shilpa gives a lot in the film too. So it's not just me there trying to help her and give her this education. She schooled me, in fact, and I think she's going to school some of the audience just with her resilience and this tenacity of this young girl she was actually a beggar. Like, she was begging at the mosque when she was 4. And then she was put on the beach by her parents to work, long days, 7 days a week, 6 months at a time when she was 5. And through this journey, she ended up rising amongst the ranks, becoming an entrepreneur when she was 12, learning to speak multiple languages, all the business savvy and skills that came along with that, the social skills that she has in communicating with people from all over the world. And I think she really became a beacon, even amongst her own peers, of hope, because they did see that, here's someone who started with nothing, and it was her friends and her peers who started calling her the Queen of the Beach, because she herself, through her own willpower and a little bit of help from me. I mean, I helped her get into school for a year so she could learn to read and write English, but she put herself in a position where she was in control of her own destiny, rather than her destiny being controlled, which is how things started when she was very young.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for taking some time to share your story, both here and on film. And I want to encourage people, if you get a chance, please go seek out Queen of the Beach. It released last Friday, August 15th. I thought it was a powerful story, and one that we need to hear, shining a light on something that we don't see all the time, especially here. Like what you said, some of your takeaways about the opportunities we have here that we take for granted, that came to mind for me when I was watching it. I thought it was a very beautiful film and a very beautiful and powerful story. So thank you very much for sharing.
Hey, thank you very much for having me as well. Really appreciate it.